Hello everyone and welcome to Debonair Cyber. My name is Devin, and in today's video we're going to be continuing down the Intro to Red Team track. In this next machine called Sal, we're going to be going over some web enumeration, command injection, and sudo exploitation. I hope you're ready for it. Let's get started. Alright, and with that I think we're ready to get started. We have our machine pulled up here and our target IP. We can click to copy that, and then we're going to pull it over here into our virtual machine. The first thing we want to do is I'm going to move into my Hack the Box and VPN directories and make sure that we have connectivity with the environment. So sudo openvpn, and then you can grab your own OpenVPN file from Hack the Box itself. I'm going to click enter my password there, and we can get that confirmation up in the top right when that's successful. Next up, I'm going to make a new tab here, and back out of that we're going to make a folder structure for Sal specifically. That way we can stay organized. We can use the -p flag to make multiple folders at one time. And we can go right into that. And then one more thing before we actually get started on this, let's add Sal to our Etsy hosts file so we don't have to keep calling it by the IP. Etsy hosts, and we're going to paste that IP down there, and we'll call it sal.htb. Everything looks good there. Make sure we can ping. And we're ready to go. Alright, we're already in our nmap folder here, so we'll just go ahead and kick off a quick scan, doing all ports, doing a fast scan. And we'll be right back. Alright, so that looks like it's finished up. This is interesting though. We have 22 and 80. That seems pretty normal, but 80 looks to be filtered. That is interesting. 8338 is also filtered, also interesting, but we have an open port here on 55,555. What we want to do really quick and before we start our manual enumeration is go ahead and run one more scan and run some other scripts on top of those ports. So we're going to enter here 22 88338 and 55s. We're going to use the SC flags and the SV flags for version detection in those other scripts. We want to output those in all the file formats. We're going to call those Sal, and then we're going to enter our host name HTB, and we're going to let this run for a little bit. And while we're doing that, we're going to open up our browser. And we know we've got that 5555. So we see this new basket, create a basket to collect and inspect HTTP requests. We see down here at the bottom, powered by request baskets, version 1.2.1. So I guess we can click create here. We got this little cog. By providing master token, you will gain access to all baskets. Okay, interesting. But we do have this request baskets and a version number. Let's see what we can pull up just with a little bit of quick searching. Right off the bat here we have a proof of concept server-side request forgery on request baskets. This looks really interesting. Let's see what we got. This vulnerability allows attackers access to network resources and sensitive information by exploiting the API basket's name component through a crafted API request. Okay, so we know we have this server-side request forgery vulnerability, and we know that we can make these request baskets. So how do we put all this stuff together? First, we're going to need, according to the instructions here, a name, API basket's name. This is referring to the name of the basket that we can create. So we can just create that basket really quick. We've got a token here. Copy that just in case we need it, and we can open that basket. Now we can go to our settings for this basket and set the forward URL to our machine's IP. And just a reminder, you can get your IP up here in the top right if you're ever confused with that. Okay, all these other selections are fine as their defaults. We're going to hit apply. Basket is reconfigured. So now we should be sending forward requests from the basket to our local machine. So what we can do is set up a netcat listener for port 80. So now that we have that listener running, we can actually curl into the basket. And we just want the name. We don't want the web part of it. So synv6he. And we can go back here and see that our basket is actually communicating over to our local host. Okay, so putting all the pieces together now, we know that there is a server-side request forgery vulnerability, meaning that we can potentially configure this basket to reach out to internal resources on our behalf. So now we can go in here and change this forward URL to the local host, and we know that something is on port 80. It's just being filtered from the outside, so we want to see that resource. In order for this to work, however, we need to configure the proxy response. This will have the basket act as a full proxy, and then expand the forward path. We're going to hit apply on those. And then instead of coming into this web interface, we're going to delete that web part and hit enter. This is now going to serve us whatever is being served on the local host of the machine at port 80. So this is running on SAL on port 80, but we were not able to get to it previously. Looking over this page really quickly, we can see once again in the footer we have a service and a version number. So let's see what we can pull off of that. A remote code execution exploit. This looks juicy. Okay, so looking over this exploit really quick, we can go down here to the usage, and we see that the script requires 3 arguments: the IP address, where the reverse shell should connect back to, the listening IP, that would be ours, the port number on which the reverse shell should connect, where we're listening, and the URL of the target system. So with all of that, we want to copy this, and we can we can stop this listener now. And we can git clone and paste that. And we can see now that we have this maltrail exploit. We can move into that directory. Okay, so now we've cloned the Git repository where the exploit is. We can see that we have the exploit.py, and we know that it needs the listening IP, the listening port, and the URL of the target. So we're going to give those 3 things in order. But before we do that, we need to set up our listener. And we're going to do quad 4. Listen there. And run that exploit. And back on our listener, we can see that we have caught a reverse shell. ID, looks like we are the user Puma. So from here we can change directory into that user's home directory, and we can get that user flag. From here, the first thing that I want to do is upgrade the shell so that it's a little bit more user-friendly. We can use Python to do that. I like to make sure that there is a version of Python installed. That one's not there, but we can try Python 3. Okay, we do have Python 3. So we can use that to upgrade our shell. Import pty, and then use pty to spawn bash. Make sure you close your quote there. Alright, so now we have a fully interactive shell here. Alright, so just as some initial enumeration, we've already run ID, so we know there's not any groups in particular that we should be interested in. We can run netstat just to make sure that there isn't anything else that we may have missed during that nmap scan that we couldn't see from the outside. I'm not seeing anything particularly interesting. Let's check to see if we can run sudo. We don't need a password. Interesting. No password. User bin systemctl status trail.service. So let's see if we might be able to, oops, need to copy that. Go over to GTFO bins and see what we might be able to find. Okay, so before we get too lost in the weeds there, let's go back and make sure we know what the version of systemctl is that's running on the machine, and that would be systemd 245. So now if we copy this, we can paste that and maybe do privilege escalation. And we can see here the top one, CVE 2023-26604. System 245, that looks like it's right. Okay, so after doing a little bit of reading there, you could probably see that this spawns a pager called less. And that less has the ability to execute commands. In this example, you can trigger a new shell with the command sh. Exclamation sh. So let's try this out. We can do, make sure we got this full path here. Need to copy all of that. Sudo beforehand. And instead of pressing return, we just press exclamation sh. You can see that our ID is root. And now we can change into the root directory and get that flag. Alright, and that's just about going to wrap up today's video. At this point in the intro to the red team track, we're beginning to stretch our legs a little bit more, getting more into web enumeration, getting into some pseudo exploitation, and just we're at this point starting to pick up a handful of techniques in our toolbox to make this and future systems a little bit easier. As always, if you enjoy the content here, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.